So to begin with, to try and get a sense of obviously how what the students were coming out on the personal statements with regards to grading, I had to just simply use the averaging mean, median, mode, and range approach. And this is the data that was generated from that. So on average, students who were falling below 55 were coming out with a grade of around 51.5. And this helped us to identify the group that would be encouraged to attend the in-sessional provision. And then, as we move through the semester, students completed the International Business Theory module exam, which was a case analysis report where they were asked to read a case in advance, and then in the exam were presented with a question that they had to generate a sort of hybrid of or an adapted version of a case analysis report to respond to that question and generate some recommendations for a company to move forward with. So we could identify those who did attend during semester one from the encouraged group, which was 42 students, and they were regraded using the same criteria, and their averages increased from 52.5, sorry, to 51.5, sorry, to 64.8. And a relatively small comparative group at this stage with the 7 students who did not attend the in-sessional from the identified group. You can see that their average did increase, but not obviously as much as the students who did attend the sessions regularly. So then, obviously, we went through semester 2, students working towards completing their research proposal and various elements of it. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got the opportunity to create 4 different groups for comparative analysis: those who were identified and attended, identified to be encouraged to attend and did attend, those who were identified to be encouraged but did not attend, those who were not identified but did attend, and those who were not identified and did not attend. So we've had sort of 4 distinct groups that we could work on creating comparative analysis for. And once all of that data was collected, it could be completed. And there were many different outcomes to this. So there are several data sets that were created, looking at it from various different perspectives, of which time would not allow me to present them to you today. But what we can talk about today is a link to the data that I analysed, looking at progress from baseline scores to final grades, looking at attendance across both semesters, or if people had attended in just 1 or 2. And then the comparison between attendance and non-attendance. So this first table, although it says table 2, this first table looks at how scores are changed between semesters with the same individual. So we've got those who attended in the initial semester from the encouraged group, achieving an average grade increase of 10.2. From the not encouraged group, their grade increased slightly less, but still increased to 4.5. So we've got the average increase of 7.2 there. And you can see the individuals marked at the bottom from those 2 different group sets. Okay. And then we have a breakdown of those 3 areas from the criteria. So whether their content, structure, or GVS increased. Obviously, students' average grades did increase, but most significantly in the structure and GVS areas. Probably because the content was not an area that I would have sufficient knowledge of to be able to, fully um, assess. So that was in coordination with Lub's colleagues, but the structure and GVS were seen to be the most improved areas using the criteria. So in terms of the kind of overall trends of the data sets, it shows significant improvements for students who attended regularly across both semesters, which is obviously what we were looking for. And for those students who were being encouraged, it had the greatest impact in that their grades on average increased the most. Obviously, mainly developed and showed improvements in structure and GVS. As I've explained, content was not, the main aim of the in-sessional provision. And for me personally, it was more about how well students were explaining their understanding to me, but not necessarily my knowledge of the content of the, particularly in semester one, the theoretical concepts at that stage. And then for those actually who attended, so there were very much a core group of attendees across semester one and semester two, but there were also some different attendance profiles. So some students who attended in semester one didn't attend in semester two, and vice versa. Some people who attended in semester two had not attended in semester one. And it would seem to be that on that sort of shorter scale measurement, some students actually had it had a greater impact on their grades in that shorter period of time. But ultimately, the students who were encouraged and attended achieved well. Okay, so I think that's everything from a data analysis for me, and I'll hand over to Jenna.
Okay, I'm having real problems clicking along here, and I don't know why, but I'll get there. Okay, so my context is that I am embedded in the School of Food Science and Nutrition. It started in 2018, but the project here was last academic year, so 23-24. And the provision that year included weekly workshops by MSc programs. So there are 5 MSc programs in the school, weekly language clinics that only ran in semester one, and then one-to-one bookable appointments. My secondment last year was for 4 days a week in semester one and 2 days a week in semester two, and the in-sessional provision was open to all MSc students in the school. Last year was a bit of a strange year. So normally there's around 140 MSc students in the school, and last year we had 263. So it was a bit of a bumper year last year. Workshops were made compulsory for the first 5 weeks of semester one because it was felt that students didn't really understand what in-sessional provision was. So if they did it for the first 5 weeks before deciding if they wanted to sign up or not, they'd have been able to experience what the in-sessional was like. And then after those first 5 weeks, it was capped at 25 students per MSc program, and students had to sign up. The syllabus every year is designed in collaboration with the DSE, the MSc program leads, and the students. And because after the first 5 weeks it's optional, there's a big focus on assessment literacy. Students in the School of Food Science and Nutrition have really busy timetables, often about 28 hours a week of contact time. So to ask them to do something additional, it's got to be really relevant to what they're doing at the time. In terms of the project, it was a qualitative approach and it focused on student perceptions of impact. And this was in large, actually, because something like Clark's project just wouldn't have worked in the school. Because of the large numbers, even those subjects that had individual assessments changed them to group last year. So for the whole of semester one and two, all of their assessments were group assessments. And therefore, it had been impossible to see the impact of the in-sessional on those submissions because you didn't know who had done the work on the submissions and whether they attended or not. So because it was going to be a student perception project, I took a mixed methods approach to provide greater insight into the performance. And I did this through surveys and then focus groups. So the students completed mid and end of semester feedback forms in both semesters 1 and 2 that focused on impact, and approximately 50 students completed these at each point. And then at the end of each semester, I also ran focus groups, and there were 13 students, the same 13 who attended these at the end of semester 1 and the end of semester 2. And then I also sent a questionnaire out for those that did not attend the workshops, and 36 students filled those out as well. So I coded the data from the surveys and the focus groups and found 3 main areas of impact. The first one was the academic impact, which was what I was hoping and expecting. As this is one of the main aims of Embedded In-Sessional at Leeds. As you can see here, it's to enable students to develop their ability to achieve the appropriate arrangement of content, information, and language to create extended spoken or written discourse. Now, the findings in this area were kind of split into 5 main subsections. The students liked that it was aligned to their MSc throughout. They felt that the provision had an impact on their actual grades. They felt that they saw an improvement in their academic language and skills. They appreciated the opportunity for feedback. All of their feedback came after the semester 1 exam period, so middle of February. So before that, they didn't get any feedback. So they appreciated the opportunity to bring the drafts that they were working on and get feedback as we went along. And they also felt that they developed their assessment literacy through attending the workshops. So Goldsmith et al. Claim that the most effective method of developing students' disciplinary, academic language and literacy is through embedded in-sessional provision, and the students really felt this. So as you can see, participant 3 felt that they'd improved in their reading and writing due to attending the workshops. And participant 12, it was interesting, felt that they thought they were confident in areas such as grammar, but actually through coming to the workshops, they realized the genre differences from writing a scientific paper to writing a story. And in terms of assessment literacy, Bamber et al. Claim that subject lecturers have expectations but don't articulate these, and this was also felt by the students. So participant 1 said that they were able to meet the requirements of the assessments due to attending the workshops, because we looked at what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to structure it. And participant 5 said that lecturers do have expectations about what they expect, but they don't explain it and you have to work it out for yourself. So therefore, by coming to the workshops, they could get some explanation about what's expected and what they had to do. And finally, in terms of being aligned to the MSc, Murray talks about the importance of responding to the needs of the moment. And this was really important for me because, like I said, they have a really busy timetable. So it had to feel, the students had to be able to see the relevance of what we were doing every week. And participant 3 noted that it was directly relevant to the things that they were studying, to their goals, to their work, and to their assessments. The main finding, however, the one that was reported the most over any sort of academic improvement, was the sense of belonging. And I think at the time, because there were 263 students, everything was delivered through large lectures. And a lot of their modules, you can't do a bachelor's and a master's in food science at Leeds because they do a lot of their modules together. So it wasn't just the 263 of them in a lecture theatre, it was also the undergrads on top of that. So everything was just in these really large groups. Goodnow and Grady say a defined sense of belonging as students' feeling of being accepted, included, and connected to their institutions. And it's been seen that sense of belonging can enhance a student's academic language and literacies because they grow in confidence, they feel like they're a member of the community, but it can also work the other way as well, because of their stronger language skills, they can strengthen their connections. So the findings in terms of sense of belonging were kind of categorized into 5 subcategories as well. They felt that the workshops were inclusive and that it was an opportunity to get individual help and personal attention, because those workshops were capped. After the first 5 weeks, they were capped at 25 students in a group. So it was very different to everything else that they were doing.